Hi everyone, I'm Matt Gordon here at 1092 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we're here with Mike Ball, professional bass player, and we're going to talk about volume, tone, and instrument selection within the recording studio. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about your pedal chain here?
Absolutely. I'm gonna start right from here. Fender P-Bass. This is actually a 1995 American P-Bass. I use All Planet Waves cables made by D'Addario. Not the most expensive. They're kind of middle of the road as far as these kind go, but they offer great tone and great durability too.
Durability seems like it would be a very important thing, especially when you're touring.
Absolutely, and I use this rig that I'm about to show. I use studio and the road, so you can actually see, you know, my board is a little bit dirty and it's a little bit unkempt because of that, but as far as the cabling and all that, it's very, very reliable as far as all that goes.
Awesome.
So first off, just a standard Boss TU2 chromatic tuner, $100 at Guitar Center. You can get it even cheaper off of Craigslist or anything like that. First in line, run that into an Effectrode compressor. It's a Class A compressor with the tube in there that actually models an LA2A compressor.
Is that right?
It is, yeah.
So with I assume you like that compressor pedal solely because it does mark that LA2A and it gives you that little bit of harmonic distortion?
Absolutely, and I put this up from one of my buddies for, I forget how much it was, and a lot of, I don't want to say every engineer, a lot of the engineers who I've worked with in the studio and live, they really are impressed by it as far as how round it can get, as far as the like you said, the harmonic distortion that you can get out of it. It's just, it brings out a lot of color in the tone.
Right, and I would assume it definitely helps add to the warmth that you want to capture in certain genres of music.
It absolutely does. As far as the country, it gives such a warmth to that. Even for the rock, you can back off the peak reduction a little bit, maybe go like right about there at 9 o'clock, and it'll give you a lot more of that tube drive.
Right.
Very much akin to what an Ampeg SVT would give you.
Awesome. So after the compressor, what are we going into?
After the compressor, I run into a Radial bass bone, made up in Canada.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got to point that out.
Absolutely, made up in Canada. I love Radial's products, highly endorsed on the bass end from guys like Will Lee, Billy Sheehan. Those are two of the big endorsers. I think Billy actually uses a lot of his stuff in the studio too. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Is that right?
Yeah. You have two inputs and a balanced out, so you can take the output of this as well and run it to your board. It's currently, there's 3 shapes on it in the channel 1 position. One is flat, so on the graphic EQ, there's no bumps anywhere.
Now when you're talking about the contour and the shapes, you're referring to the EQ itself.
Exactly, yes. So the first one is run flat. The second one actually models an Ampeg SVT as far as the warmthness and everything. So you have that with this, it really brings out that 70s Tim Bogert Vanilla Fudge sound.
Awesome.
Really good for a rock setting, really good with the jazz bass. And then the third shape, I believe, it's either a 2 or a 3K boost in the graph.
Right.
So it gives you a little bit, like if you were doing more like the Green Day, the pop punk stuff with a pick, it would really bring out that Mike Dirnt sound.
Right. So you would use the shape 2, like you said, in the Green Day setting with the pick to really add to the attack and bring out the aggressive side of the bass.
Absolutely. That, and even, I don't run any effects with this, but if you ran effects with a distortion, it would really bring out that sound to it, and it would really give you that rock sound. Not so much to like the King's X Pennant sound where that's more warmth distortion, but very much like the Mike Dirnt sound, like no effects, all that sort of stuff.
Now when you, on shape 2, when you boost that range, is it also cutting the low end?
No, it just boosts the 2 to 3K range.
So,
everything else stays flat so that you can touch that post-production or while I'm playing, you'd be able to.
By post-production, you mean if we were to reamp it after you record a dry signal?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. So in the country setting, which we were talking about in our previous video, what might you have for settings on your compressor going into the tone bone?
I usually run the compressor at noon on the gain and the peak reduction. That way you can hear it, but it's also subtle enough where you kind of have to listen to it.
Right.
And then I usually run the tone bone in the Shape 1 SVT sound, just to give it that warmth. And it does kind of give you that 70s rock feel, only because a lot of bass now is kind of tracked like that. But it's also subtle enough where it does give you that country sound too. It's a really nice balance.
Right. So I noticed you don't have any effects pedals in your chain. Is that something that you normally shy away from and let someone like myself take care of in the control room, post-production? If we want to reamp it, you would let me do that rather than record that way?
Absolutely. I've always kind of been under the rule of thumb that, you know, if you want to, depending on what the artist wants and what the producer wants, just kind of do it like that. There's so many good programs for that nowadays, as far as distortion, as far as phase, chorus, flanger, that it's in my opinion, it's worth it just going that route and just giving the dry signal this way.
Right. Awesome. So Mike, lastly, out of the tone bone, you're going into an Aguilar DI.
That's right.
Can you tell me about this unit and why you like using it?
Absolutely. It's an Aguilar Tone Hammer 500. It's one of Aguilar's most popular amp heads right now. Retail about $700, which is for something that runs at 500 watts solid state, but is actually wired a little bit hotter. It's very worth the price. Everybody in Nashville, it seems like, is using either an Aguilar 500 like this or a DB751.
Right. The Aguilars are such great products. They sound amazing coming through the control room.
They really are, even live as well. You get such a good sound out of them. It's kind of become the Nashville standard in a way.
Right. So, is it my understanding that you primarily leave the Aguilar flat in its settings, except sometimes you might play with the drive?
Exactly. Yeah, I usually try and leave the settings flat for that. That way, you guys in the control room don't have to screw around with it too much. Or if you need something, I can take it out for
Right.
you. I also run it in post. That way you can get the full effect of the compressor and the bass bone. It gives it just a little bit of extra warmth to it. I'm definitely all about that kind of stuff. And the only thing that don't really mess around with a whole lot, but some guys do, is the drive on it, which I mentioned in the previous episode. Lee Hendricks, who plays for Eric Church, he runs with that thing almost, from my understanding on the recordings, just pegged almost, where it gets that really distorted, crunchy sound to it.
I think, well, the way you and I record on typical sessions here is we would run the tone the way that you like to record, and then if we want to go back and reamp something, that's when we can turn the drive up. And the drive, to me, just adds a little bit of, you know, an 800 range, which is really going to give you some definition on the bass.
Absolutely.
And the distortion, the distortion on the drive setting just allows it to cut through the mix a little bit better than if it were flat. But it's, you know, I find it's best to blend that in with the original signal, not to fully commit to one or the other.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the best way to go too, is to try and get that nice balance between the overdriven and between the flat.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for watching. Please be sure to check out 1092 Studios on the web and follow us on social media. Also, while you're at it, make sure you check out Mike Ball Bass on Instagram so you can follow what he's been doing in the studio and on the road. Also, if you're interested, please watch more of our tutorial videos here on YouTube. And until next time, take care.